Welcome to Cafecito with Rosie on Air, Season 3, where we are focusing in leadership with a servant heart. And today I am honored to introduce Bishoy, a friend of mine that it was actually my brother in leadership Tampa Bay. How are you today, Bishoy?
Good. Amazing. How are you, Rosie?
Great. Thank you for visiting and having a cafecito with me. And we are from the best class ever.
That's right.
Class
Class of
of
23.
23. Yes. And many things have changed for you in your life since the class of 23 and our graduation.
Yes.
And actually, as we're recording this, the class of 25 is having their graduation today,
yeah.
but we're still the best. The graduation, yes, but we're still the best class ever.
Always will be. Best class ever.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now, who you are, and how you're helping the community.
Absolutely. Well, love the energy. I'm always happy to when you invited me out here to come out. Rosie's awesome, by the way. You know, from the first minute you meet Rosie, she's just this like burst of energy, and it's amazing and it's infectious. So even when you're tired around Rosie, you can't really be tired around Rosie. So we met in leadership Tampa Bay. It's like you said, a lot has changed since then. So I'll give you a little background. I'm a real estate attorney by trade. I've been doing that for 12 plus years now. I started my own law firm a year ago after doing it for 11 years. Yep. Thank you. So I'm about a year into that now. I'm also a real estate broker. So I have my own, so my law firm's name is Legacy Legal. We're based in Tampa, but we're all over the state. The brokerage is Capstar Real Estate. Started that in October of 2023, so about 6 months ago. We have 17 agents working with us right now. So that's been exciting. That's been fun. And it's all real estate related, so it's kind of goes hand in hand. And then the other big change, I got married a year ago, right in the middle of our class. Actually, I missed 2 classes of Leadership Tampa Bay. One was my wedding, one was my honeymoon. So
congratulations. Nobody knew that.
It's funny. So you remember when you guys were at the Busch Gardens for the giraffes?
Yes.
So they were sending me pictures of giraffes. We were in South Africa, and I was sending them pictures of those giraffes. So
that's exciting.
So it's been a crazy year, 16 months, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's where I am today with the law firm, the brokerage, and just kind of building those brands up.
Awesome. And talking about leadership with a servant heart, now you say you lead all these people, right? How are you able to manage that part of leading and inspiring? Because it's not about the micromanagement or things, although, you still need to produce because you are a business. How are you able to use that leadership skills to motivate and inspire your employees, people that work with you?
Yeah, I'm always a believer in leadership by example. Some people are maybe more vocal. I can be vocal, but at the end of the day, I'm tirelessly work. You work hard, you inspire people, you motivate people. And the most important thing to me, I think you have to be there for people when they need you. And I think for me, that's probably one of my biggest qualities is like, I have, like I said, 17 agents. I mean, literally anything that comes up, I answer my call. Doesn't matter how busy I am. And I think that's something they can appreciate and respect. And that's how you build trust in a team. That's how you have a team that grows and believes in what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you can't really build anything without that. That's kind of the business sense. Obviously, leadership outside, similar but different.
Right.
I know we'll talk about that as well.
Right. Well, and this is funny because since you and I meet back then, and I end up with Leadership Tampa Bay too, my insurance business actually grew too.
Yep.
And now I have about 10 agents that I'm leading myself and inspiring. And these are independent agents. So I cannot tell them, go to work here, go to work there. But it's that relationship building, right? And getting to know them and what makes them do what they do and how they tick. So yesterday we had a get together while we filming this. Yesterday we had our first inaugural get together where I got all the agents, and I wanted them not to tell me their professional aspect of it. I wanted everybody to know who they are as a person. And then one of my agents shared, I love to travel. No, like, I love to travel. So now that's going to be a big motivation. Those little tips and bits of knowing him, now we can say, okay, where are you going to travel next year? And okay, how many policies do we need to get you there, right? And then we go with this and that. But now I know also how to reward him or how to connect with him, and he speaks a little bit of Spanish, you will never believe, but I guess he dated a Hispanic girl. So when I spoke with him a couple of the times, I remember him telling me, I'm afraid, tengo miedo. And I'm like, in Spanish? What do you mean? He says, yeah, I used to date a Dominican girl. So, he wants to practice his Spanish too. But I'm so proud of each and every one of my agents. And that, like you said, always being available. They know that if I'm not answering, I'm always texting them back, because at the end of the day, they're being an extension of who you are, right?
Yeah, that's right. It builds it's your identity, and they build around it, whatever that culture is, whatever that, what's important to you is going to become important to them. And whatever you let slip is what they're going to let slip. So this is exactly what it is.
Yeah. And believe it or not, I thought culture was created before you start your business, but actually by my business coach, he mentioned that culture in your business is created by the personal in your business. So you have to have your values and what you stand for, and then you attract those people, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's leadership with a servant heart. So I always say SNR Services is raising the next generation of insurance leaders with a servant heart, because we serve the seniors, one of the most vulnerable population of the United States. So if we go with things about thinking about our pocket, then we're not servicing our clients, right? So those are the things that I look for in my agents. Are they're fat, what I call it, faithful, available, teachable. And I have little by little, not even recruiting, people come to me and I say, I want to be part of you. And they just fit the brand and fit what I'm doing. But little by little, they're building the culture.
You're attracting the energy that you're putting out, right? And that's how it works. It's funny. The same thing with our brokerage. We started off and we had a ton of agents that came from day one. And now on a regular basis, we do a lot of social media and stuff. And on a daily basis, we have agents reaching out or people reaching out. How do we work with you? How do we have money we want to invest. We have properties we need your help with. We are an agent, or I'm an agent and I want to work with you. And so that to me has been the most exciting part of it all, is just feeling like there's this energy and this like attraction that we're putting out there and people are really into it. That's been really fun for me. It's like the personal connections and the people that have recognized me and us from that and want to work with us. It's a good feeling because at the end of the day, you're just being authentic. You're being true to who you are. You're putting out there what's important to you and what you care about and stuff like that. And people like that. People like that. That's been the biggest lesson for me with the brokerage.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned that you recently putting yourself out in social media.
Yeah.
And this is one of the biggest tips that I tell people: be authentic, be real, be raw, be who you are.
Yeah.
Because when people meet you in the street and you're not the person that you show in social media, they will hold you accountable too. And,
100%. I'll tell you a funny story. So about the power of social media. So I've always been a hard worker. I've always put, 80 hours, sometimes 80-hour weeks in my law practice, whether I was with a different firm or my own firm. And ever since I built my own firm, like 1 year ago, I've been working like a slave in it, basically. And so I didn't do any social media, to be honest. It was all referrals, word of mouth, because I've been in the community. People know me, so it's nice. Then we did the Capstar, which is the brokerage. And like I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of social media, and I have two partners in it, and they've been doing social media, and then I'll repost it, and it snowballs. And then we have agents, and they repost it. And so I kid you not, I had people coming up to me when I was out or in the street or on Instagram saying, hey man, this is really cool. You're doing this real estate brokerage. Do you still practice law? And I'm like, that's crazy, because I spend 80% of my time, maybe 90, doing law, but I don't tell people. I don't post it, and I repost a few things. Everyone thinks I'm doing that all day, and that's when the switch went off in my head. I'm like, I got to tell people what I'm doing, because otherwise, unless I'm doing something with them or for them, 99% of them don't know what I'm doing. So I decided to really go all in on social media. I started, Instagram, TikTok, just for professional one, YouTube, attorney Bishoy, and so it's been awesome. I've gotten tremendous feedback. I'm 1 month in. I had one thing go viral that I was excited about on a small scale, but the power of social media cannot be understated, and you are a testament to it. I know you're very active.
Well, and that's some of those things that I tell people. I actually came into social media to prove that social media was not a good thing for business. So again, I took that.
That's ironic.
Yes, it is. It is ironic, and it is in my book also. And I said I took this social media class school for people that want to run their own social media when you're an entrepreneur, or if you want to have like be a social media manager. It was the best $500 I spent in my business maybe 10, 15 years ago when I started. And now that I learned all that stuff, I said, okay, now how do I prove it that it works or not? And that's when I started posting, where is Rosie? Mm-hmm. Because somebody in the morning called me and says, where are you going to be? Where is Rosie going to be today? Yeah. From all the networking that I used to do, this is before COVID. So I'm like thinking, I'm going to start posting, where is Rosie? Where's Rosie? And within 2 months, people were, I found out Rosie. And that's why.
Branding. That's branding.
And that's branding before even knowing or having a strategy or anything. And then it was affirmed not too long ago at a class that I created a community. I created a community of people that want to know, where's Rosie going to be today? And that's one of the hardest things to do.
That's awesome.
You add yourself to the community, or you create a community, but creating a community has been hard. So it is an honor at the same time, right? That everybody wants to know, where's Rosie? And there's the people that I hear, I don't care where Rosie is this morning, but at the end of the day, they're thinking about me, right?
No such thing as bad press, right?
Exactly. So yeah, and be authentic, be who you are, and it will happen. So I'm glad that this has happened. But you also talk about investments and things like that. So why do you think? I mean, let me just rephrase this. A lot of people have fear of money, or they have maybe limitations about money, or people are coming perhaps from another country, where third world country, we don't look at the money the same way. What would be some tips that you can share somebody or tell somebody about the power of, thinking about finances, not being afraid of it?
Yeah. It's a great point. Even in my culture, I'm Egyptian, and I sense the same thing. People are scared to talk about it. It's kind of taboo in a way to talk about. And I feel in this country, it's, I love it. Some people might complain about it, but it's the freedom to do whatever you want. We're a capitalist country. And so I love that. I'm drawn to that. For people in that situation, and by the way, I will say you're so right. I do this for a living. So I do real estate, business, and other kinds of law in that area, but all dealing with money, all dealing with finance is what I do all day. And I mean, the amount of people and clients that I get that you would just be surprised, even people with money, they don't know that much about money. And so my first tip would be to educate yourself. Don't be embarrassed to ask questions. We're in a day and age where you can literally become an expert at anything you want. Go on YouTube. Every morning I start with the YouTube. What do I want to learn today? And I'll find something educational. It's my first 15, 20 minutes of my day while I kind of figure out what my day is going to be. But you can learn anything. You can teach yourself anything. There's books, there's electronic books, the internet's crazy. There's ChatGPT. But educate yourself, and then, go try to learn, go try to invest on a small scale. Don't believe everything you read.
Right.
Don't invest in everything that people tell you. Be skeptical, but be smart, and then talk to smart people. Always surround yourself with the smartest people. I hate to be the smartest person in the room, which it never happens.
Right.
I'm never the smartest person in the room, which is a good thing. So always surround myself with good professionals. Talk to someone that's trustworthy. Talk to someone who's smart. Talk to someone who's done it. And I think you will be surprised if you reach out to people. A lot of people are willing to help if you listen, especially like you might think this person will never want to help me because they've already done this. No, a lot of people might be in a stage in their career where all they want to do is give back because they've been so blessed. So reach out to the right people, learn, educate, but the only thing I'll say, do not bury your head in the sand.
Right.
Do not think about putting your money under a mattress because you're scared about this, and that. Because all those decisions you make today, they're compounded every day. Your life could be so much better in 10 years or 20 years. Even if you just have a very simple income, it doesn't matter. You can make a big difference. You know, you just got to start today. That's the big thing.
Right. Yeah. So they mentioned there was this book that I'm reading, and I can't remember the author right now, but it's I'll teach you to be rich, and it talks about the gentleman is from India, and it just gives you all these tips, and he's hilarious because he's actually talking to millennials, right? But I love to read anything and everything to do with finances because of that same reason that my family was not very good at finances. I mean, my parents did not know what budget was. When I said, Mom, Dad, do you have a budget? And they're like, what's that? You know? So they always live by the seat of their pants. Now we're talking about, okay, we have to talk about this, right? But this gentleman has some practical tips. And he says there's 2 important days to start, investing. You know, when you were supposed to start, or today, right? But it starts somewhere, right? And it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money, but it's about building that discipline of doing it. And recently with my business coach, which I also just hired not too long ago, and that my business increased by 30%, I always have something that I want to learn. So now we put in 3% of all my earnings away, okay? And it's not that is being invested right now. I have it in the money market, but it's the habit of going every week, see how much my business has come in. With insurance, you get paid different times of the month. So then you tally up the 3%, write yourself a check and go to the bank where you cannot have a credit card and then deposit it. But it's building that. And to me, every time I go there, I'm getting closer to that year that I have been saving 3% of my salary, that eventually is going to pay something else, right? But it's just building that habit, because then he says next time it's going to be 10% and next time it can be 15%, right? Because as an entrepreneur, I don't have a I might have Social Security, but I haven't invested in the retirement yet. But a lot of people don't think that you can buy a Roth IRA, and you need to be with a company to do it, which you don't.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And you can invest in some of that and start small, but start doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think the average person doesn't understand the power of compound interest.
Yes.
Right? I don't want to make up the numbers and get them wrong, but go look up online the examples of like how many times, if let's say you put $10,000 in today, but it compounds every year at 6 or 7%, which is easy to get, really. I mean, that number could be at 6 figures within 6 or 7 years, but then it could be from there every year it goes up way more. It could be $50,000 a year, in 15, 20 years, and you could have $500,000 in 20 years, right? But it starts with as soon as you can, right? Because it's time. It could work with you or it could work against you, but today's the day.
Yeah, and it's the consistency. And a big shout out to my friend Christy Maldonado. She just posted on Facebook this morning or yesterday. She saves $5 every single day. And she had the number of how much that was at the end of the year. And she's just putting those $5 away every single day. So you can buy a cup of coffee. Yes, and then the guy at the book says, if you want to buy a $5 cup of coffee, buy that $5 cup of coffee, but then saving the other things that you don't like to do. But Christy is saving $5 every single day. Since I've known her, and she's posted all this in social media, she's gotten out of debt. She's lost, 30, 40, 50 pounds almost,
Wow.
And it's just been consistency. It has not been overnight, but now she's putting all this thing away, all this she says, I'm just going to do $5. It's something that I can do, and it's manageable.
Yeah, don't overwhelm yourself. You're not going to put $100,000 away your first time. Put 5, 10, 50, 100, whatever you can afford, and watch it grow, but be disciplined. That's the thing I like. It takes financial discipline to get to your goals. But once you start getting them and you start, it's like anything else. Once you start feeling like you're making progress, it really becomes so much easier to do, because you could see it, you could feel it. It's like going to the gym.
Right, exactly right. You don't see the gym right now, but
But a couple weeks in, you start feeling good. You start looking in the mirror. So it's the same thing with finance.
The habit is building the habit. And you talk about you reading or seeing your stuff in YouTube. So you have a routine, I'm assuming, that kind of keeps you sane, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So my routine is, my morning routine, I kind of go crazy without it. So I wake up after I wash my face, brush my teeth, and then I put my so I'll start stretching, and then I'll do one of two things. I'll either if I'm in a mindset that something I got to learn something for the day, that's when I put YouTube on and I'll start learning. If there's my big problems for the day, then I'll do it in silence and I'll stretch, and it's kind of a meditation for me. And it's a 15 minutes. And after that 15 minutes, it's like a stretch routine. My body feels good. My mind feels good. And then I have my coffee. I always have to have coffee in the morning. I always have to have coffee. And then my brain goes. And in the early morning, the hardest work you get done in the early morning. Okay. So your brain works the best when you wake up, after you wake up a little bit. Those first 2 to 3 hours of the day, I always challenge myself, get whatever I don't want to do.
Right.
That's what I tell myself I'm going to do in the morning. There's another thing that I always talk about. It's called decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is a very, very real thing.
Yes.
For those who don't know, every decision you make throughout the day, your brain becomes more strained. It becomes much more difficult to make good decisions. And therefore you start making poor decisions. You start acting rash. You start doing things you really wouldn't do. So Mark Zuckerberg wears the same outfit every day.
Right.
He used to. I don't know if he still does. The reason he did that was to avoid a 2 or 3 or 5 minute decision in the morning. What do I wear today? What do I wear today? So on big days, I will lay my outfit out. Not every day, but on big days when I have some stuff going on, I'll pick out my outfit so I don't have to think about it in the morning. But you know, those kind of things make a difference, because by 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock, you know, you would feel a big difference if you've been working all day. You don't want to work all day. And then, you know, you got to adjust. So knock out the early work first. I always hit the gym. I work out 7 days a week if I can. So that's absolutely part of my routine. When I do it nowadays, it's so much harder to predict. So I can't say it's the same time. I wish I could get more consistent, but that's something I do every day. And then now that I'm married, I have to incorporate family time.
Right.
At least 1 hour a day where I try to dedicate to that. I know that maybe it's not enough, but also when you're building 2 businesses, you have to make sacrifices. So you have to do a little bit of everything, but those are kind of the things I have to hit every single day.
Right. And a couple of books that Atomic Habits is one of the things
love
I
Atomic
love.
Habits.
Atomic
1%.
The Slide Edge is the other one that you guys need to read about the compound interest. It's amazing. And then the book that I always go by, and it's in that I do my routine, is The Miracle Morning. I don't get up at 4:30 in the morning though, but I do get up an hour before that I used to, and that's when I do all my meditation and my reading. And I do love actually the actual book of the reading, but when I do my walk, I actually have an Audible. So I do the Audible
start
too.
doing that. I've been telling myself I want to do the Audible books, and I haven't gotten it.
Yeah. It's just, even if you drive somewhere, I used to drive so much before, not anymore. So Audible is a really good, helpful, and they have a book in Audible, which I think I told you when you and I rode the bus to Tallahassee, The Go Giver, which is 4 hours, and if you drive somewhere and it takes you 4 hours, you will read the book. It's an amazing book. So, and then I believe they have the leadership version now. So yeah. So excited about your married life. So you talk about, you know, making that decision to make sure you incorporate that in your life, because I think that's some of those things that when you become an entrepreneur or you own your own business, you make a lot of sacrifices. But then sometimes the sacrifices cost you more, right? Because again, I repeat it, I haven't met a entrepreneur or a business owner that says, hey, I'm just gonna quit my job so I can work 80 hours and lose my family and get divorced. You know, nobody goes into this thinking about that, right? But you have the power to carve that in your time so you can put that first. So tell me a little bit about, you know, how do you come to, you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but how do you incorporate that?
It's hard because it's been one of the more challenging things for my first year of marriage, because before I met my wife, I was single for many years. And so I didn't have an obligation to anybody. So I would work till I couldn't keep my eyes open. And I still do sometimes, but if I do that, then I have a workaround. But it's probably one of the things I think about the most in my life on a daily basis, is trying to find that balance. Because on one hand, if you want to, and I'm an ambitious person, and a lot of business owners are, if you want to reach the levels of success that you want to reach, you have to do crazy things. You have to give up crazy things. You have to sacrifice. And a lot of the people at the very, very top, like the 1.1 percenters, they don't have the best personal life. They don't have the best family life, you know? And I don't ever want it to get to that point, but there's a balance of like, I want to, you know, be at the top or be somewhere at the top, but not at the, you know, not to give up at the expense, exactly. Not at the expense of my family and my wife. And, you know, so it's very difficult. It's one of the most challenging things in my life. If you ask me on a daily basis, it's like, you know, my wife is done it with work and she wants to do X, Y, and Z. And I could say no sometimes, but I can't say no all the times, you know, but at the same time, we got to pay the bills. And these are both newer businesses. It's not like I could step away for a week and they're making money and I can go on vacation. So it's a balance. And again, also, you know, always wanting more in my professional life. It's extremely tough. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing it right. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing it right, but that's just human nature.
Right.
But, you know, at the end of the day, my personality and the way I was brought up in a very, very good home, family oriented, very hardworking people, but family always came first. So, you know, there've been times where I have to put the business aside for 2 or 3 days because there's stuff going on that I got to deal with, and that's life. So my opinion is family first. Not everyone agrees with that, and that's fine, but you know, that's the most important thing, and you just try to find that balance. I'm sure you know all about that.
Right. Well, I've been married to my husband for 18 years, 19 years, I believe it's going to be this year. And I think he's the one that understood how much of a workaholic I can be, right? So he would call me like around 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. It was 4 o'clock. I remember always at 4 o'clock. He will call me. He says, "Hey, honey, what would you like to have for dinner?" or whatever. And that was actually my clue that I have. Okay, I had to wrap it up because I had to be at home, right? And my husband always was so smart about understanding my perspective and how I did things in autopilot, because again, I'm ambitious and driven and I love to talk to people and I love to help people. But at the end of the day, hey, somebody's waiting for me at home with dinner. And we blended a family actually, because my husband had one daughter, I had 2 children. And our families, they always says, "Oh, your kids look so much like you," and we laugh about it. But we were able to blend that family, blend our marriage, and then, you know, our marriage. And doesn't say that it has been a perfect marriage, but at the end of the day, we tried and we known each other, right? We learn each other's quirks and you know, and we love each other with all those things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? But things, you know, your calendar, that's one of those things that I tell people what I do the last 2 weeks of the year. I put birthdays, I put anniversaries, I put everything on my calendar. So by putting that first, everything else works around that, you know?
Yeah, if you could plan ahead, that's the hard part. And I'll tell you on this same topic, I used to travel a lot when I was younger. And then I hadn't traveled really since 2018. And then obviously COVID happened, like big trips or whatever, and like fun international stuff like that. And my wife she loves traveling. And so even when we were engaged, she would always tell me she's concerned that we wouldn't travel. And I mean, now it's a priority for us because we don't have kids yet. We want we want a few years to just enjoy marriage. We will have kids. And when we have kids, you know how that goes. You can't really travel. So it's like this balance between prioritize. So now I am back on the travel wave. And last year we did 3 amazing trips. And this year we have 1 or 2 we might do. And I never thought a year ago or a year and a half ago before I got married that I would be doing this, but it's brought me so much joy. Obviously it means I'm not working 365 days a year like I'm used to, but there's a certain give and take. And so that's just one of those things that like I am starting to plan around, like, okay, if I'm gone for a week, I'll still take my laptop for emergencies, but I'm not going to be sitting there working all day. And, you know, thankfully, because of what I do, a lot of it can wait if it can wait. So, and I'm just quick. I give my clients so much that they expect so much. But at the end of the day, no one's going to die. I'm not a surgeon, thank God. I'm just a lawyer, and I'm just a financial lawyer. So, you know, your contract can wait a couple days, or your agreement or whatever we're doing, your closing, whatever it is, we can figure it out. So
Yeah.
that's been nice as well to kind of get back into the traveling of it.
Yeah, and that's what same thing with the insurance, right? I mean, you lost your ID card. Oh well, you know what I'm saying? Call the 1-800 number, and if you don't have it, Google it. The good thing is now I have a department. Actually, there is a customer service department.
Yeah.
So I just took a cruise not too long ago, and I put in there, if you have any questions about if you're my insurance client, call this number. And they call, and while I was in the cruise, thank you, Spark. We love you, Spark. They called Spark, and they took care of them. That's and awesome. When I came back, I read all the stuff that they did, and I kind of follow up with my clients. I said, "What did you have any more questions?" No, your department helped me out. Yeah. And so that's the good thing about automating and being able to find the right partners to do those things for you. So I'm glad that works out. Hey, listen, you need to be human, you have to be part of your family. You have to disconnect. Like, that's what I think. Everybody bought the Wi-Fi for the cruise that I was in. I didn't. Mm-hmm. So the only thing I bought it was $5 to chat with the people that went with you, but that was it. So I had no way of knowing what was happening or anything.
That's scary as a business owner. I mean, even me, like when you say you're like automating and stuff, like that's exactly what I'm trying to figure out is how do I create a process or a system where I'm not the business, right? Because we all know if you have to be there, it's not a business, you are the business, right? And so exactly what you're talking about is how do I make it so I can step out for a week and nobody will notice, right? And that's putting in people in place in both of those companies, but that's so scary to step away for a week, and it shouldn't be, but it is.
Well, it's right now because you're just starting. I've been in the business 20 years. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so it will get to the point where my business runs on itself. I remember, and this is when COVID happened, right? So I got to go talk to people. So in my business, if I talk to people, I help them with Medicare, right? Well, when COVID happened, my husband was the one that was sick because he had the heart situation at that time. But I wasn't. So I kept saying, no, I got to go talk to people because I got to work. But I realized that if I went out there and we still did not know anything about the virus, I will go out there and come back and bring the virus, and then maybe my husband will not be here anymore. And I'm like thinking, okay, I can't. But then my thing in my head, I kept saying, but I have to make money. And then it dawned on me, well, but I have residual income that I have from my business. So what money do I have to make? My money comes to my account every month, even if I go out or not. And that's when everything kind of paused for me. That was the eye-opening during COVID, how all these 20 years that I've been in insurance just led to me not to worry about the money aspect of it. And I actually enjoyed the 5 months that we were in jail or in a room. Right. I lost weight at that time. And it's because, again, I didn't have to worry about that, right? Mm-hmm. Then life happens and you know what happens after that. Yeah. But so the other things that I always tell people is who you surround yourself with. So tell me a little bit about maybe a mentor or groups or things that you do to kind of, again, you mentioned you want to be the smartest person in the room, but sometimes you got to go to the rooms where you're not the smartest person in the room.
I try to not be the smartest.
Okay.
I'm usually not the smartest person in the room, just to be clear.
Okay.
No, absolutely. I mean, listen, I have talked to so many smart attorneys since I started my law firm, and we go on like lunches regularly here in Tampa. And, I won't name drop, but some of these attorneys are, really big time, done amazing things, had their own practice for 50 plus years. Had at one point thousands of employees, which is insane. And so when you're talking to that person, every single thing they say, you listen very closely, right? And I'm here, I started less than a year ago. So surrounding yourself with good people, and then on the real estate side, it's the same thing. You just talk to people who are more successful than you is what I've learned. I mean, I could talk to my peers all day, like the people that are my age, and I love doing that, but you're not gonna get as much talking to someone that's your age or your experience. And there's value in that, but it's a different value versus talking to someone who's been to the mountaintop. And I think one of the things I've been like I said, very caught off guard with is how willing people are to mentor you, especially people that have been successful. That's not to say everyone will, but even I'm at a point now where it's weird. I'm a part of USF's real estate, like I'm on the board for the real estate department at USF. And so I have kids coming up to me, like I go on panels and we'll go to events and stuff. And like the kids will come up to me and ask me for advice. And in my mind, because I went to USF, like I sat in the same class like 15 years ago, whatever it was. And so I'm like, why are you asking me? Like, I'm not and then I kind of think about it, like, I guess I kind of do have some cool experience to share with them. So they come up to me and what do you think of this? And how'd you get here? And what should we do? And all that stuff is like crazy to me. But what I love is that like, it feels so good to give back. Like there's never been a moment where I'm like, I don't want to tell this person. And I don't know. I think for the most part, people, it's now that I'm in this position to give back, it feels so easy. And now I'm like, man, I wish I had asked for more help 15 years ago because you were just scared. Well, you know, and I don't feel like you maybe didn't feel this way because you're not like, you just go do it, which I love. But like for me, I was always like, I don't want to bother this person. I don't want to, you know what I mean? And that's the wrong mentality to have, honestly, because you just got to ask, and 4 out of 5 will say yes. Maybe one says no, but 4 people there will help you and they want to help you, you know, and they feel like they're part of your journey at that point, you know?
And I love what you say, you know, so you go to rooms where you learn, but now you give back to our younger, like our future generation. I mean, let's face it, these are people that when we are old, they're going to be in leadership positions. So you want to make sure that they're smart, right? Because we don't want people that they don't know what they're doing taking care of us, right? So, and I do see a lot of, one of the things that I have been contemplating about doing is actually going to job fairs at the high schools, because a lot of these high school kids, everybody that is there is universities and technical schools, but nobody tells them about, hey, you can get your insurance license, right? And you can help all these people. And if you work hard for 5 years, and in my industry, for example, if you get to about 300 policies, so you have helped 300 people, you make $100,000 in residual income. You can do that in a year if you want to. You can do that in 5 years if you want to, you know. And a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, or at that time maybe a 22-year-old, having $100,000 just coming in, and then you just and just put it to, you know, that compound that compound interest, and then invest it. And with this, I will give a shout out to my friend Luis, who actually, he's the one that bought my first company, Good Faith Insurance Services. He came into my office, referred to by his wife. He was only 22 at that time, and he was from Costa Rica. And he says, Rosie, I just need a place to be. I'm tired to be at home. I'm bilingual. I will help you. Just put me somewhere. And I put him to be my receptionist. But I said, and don't pay me. You don't need to pay me. I'm here to learn. I said, I cannot pay you. So I was giving him $200 a week, which it was nothing. It was a blessing. And this kid, so smart, 22, he says, what do I need to do what you do? And then I explained.
The wheels started churning.
And he got his license within like 3 months.
Wow.
And then that year, he started helping me because my business was growing. So he ended up closing about 20 sales that first year. And then I associated with another lady that did property and casualty. And then now he sits out with her. It's like, what is it? What license do you need to do what you do? Now, property and casualty is a lot more difficult. So it took him a little bit longer. But I tell you, at 24, is him and another of my top agents came and had the conversation, and the partnership that I have with Eda, he says, hey, why don't you let us buy that partnership from you? And then that way we can help Eda, and we still have our business underneath you, so the overrides will go to your mothership company. And I'm like thinking, hey, where do I sign? You know, and they still continue today. They have 42 agents, and Luis they're very successful, and they bought a building in Zephyrhills Hills. We're not competition, even though we live in the same place. But at 24, he was already a business owner. Yeah. And I think now, so that was about 10 years ago. So he's 34, I believe, around this time, around that much. And he's had a couple of investments. He goes back to Costa Rica with his daughters now. So it's great to see how smart, thoughtful young man. And he will always say, oh, I'm the youngest one of the group. I'm only 22. But how that young man was able to have that vision of future of asking and then investing and learning. And he is pretty good set for the rest of his lives.
Well, and you helped pave the way for him.
Yeah.
You know, you gave him the opportunity and you also taught him. And it's good to have the abundance mindset, not the scarcity mindset, where you love to give to people as much as you can. I think that makes the world a better place. And it comes back to you tenfold. I mean, in this case, literally.
Yes,
exactly.
Literally.
It helped you in a lot of different ways. So.
And it makes me feel good. I mean, Luis is just I call him my prodigy.
Yeah, sounds like he is. Yeah,
he's a good gentleman. And that's why I was thinking, and I told you I've been thinking about contemplating going to job fairs at high schools because there's so much talent in high schools. And with that, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to tell my viewers and everybody that is watching how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so you can get a hold of me if you're on social media. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. It's Attorney Bishoy, and attorney spelled out. Bishoy is Bishoy. My law firm's name is Levacy Legal. 813-553-2699. And if you want to email me, it's bishoy@levacylegal.com. That's LEVACYLEGAL.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Bishoy. It was great seeing you. And good. And this is what you get when you get amazing people that you surround yourself with. Leadership Tampa Bay was an amazing experience, and we can't wait to go and rule the new class graduating tonight. But Leadership Tampa Bay, class of 23, the best class ever. And remember, my friends, to stay pure, stay positive, and stay inspired. Ciao.